So, dear subscribers, as many of you are gangster movie connoisseurs, I thought you might find this little story that I came across interesting, a horror story of sorts, a coming-of-age tale, if you will, or really a petty, weird exchange between two giants of cinema. So Sergio Leone is of course one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, my personal favourite film director. Well, either him or Martin Scorsese. Leone's prestige rose with each of the $3 films, climaxing with The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and he then made Once Upon a Time in the West, acquiring the talents of Charles Bronson and Henry Fonda. After agreeing to direct Duck You Sucker after the original director dropped out, Leone dabbled here and there in projects, even turning down an offer to direct The Godfather at one point, and he began work on a mammoth crime film of his own, an adaptation of The Hoods by Harry Gray, which became Leone's epic gangster film Once Upon a Time in America, released in 1984. There are many fascinating stories regarding the film, such as Leone shooting 8 to 10 hours worth of footage and trimming the film down to 6 hours, hoping to release it as two 3-hour films. When the studio refused, he trimmed it down to 4.5 hours, which still wasn't enough, so took out another 40 minutes. And it's this version of the film which premiered at the Cannes Film Festival and allegedly received a record-breaking 20-minute standing ovation, which could be heard at restaurants across the street. However, for the American market, the studio drastically recut the film down to 2 hours, which was allegedly an incomprehensible mess in which the flashback structure was dropped for a linear storyline. It was a massive flop, and Leone was deeply hurt by what the studio did to his film. However, the longer 229-minute version is now the most mainstream cut of the film, and there was even a Martin Scorsese-led restoration project which resulted in a 251-minute version. And maybe someday we will see a version closer to Leone's original vision. Anyway, enough about that. It's all very interesting, but today's video is about a specific incident in the run-up to filming. Leone wanted Robert De Niro to star in his picture, the man having already starred in the likes of The Godfather Part 2, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The Deer Hunter and Mean Streets, so it was a hot commodity and already a name in the gangster genre. He was arguably the best actor alive at the time, and Leone had convinced De Niro to star in the film, but De Niro nearly dropped out because of, well, literally a pissing contest between the two. According to Sean Levy's biography of De Niro called De Niro Alive, Leone became obsessed with The Hoods and his Once Upon a Time in America project, and after securing the rights to the book, writing a draft and deciding to direct himself, he spoke with De Niro about the project. De Niro said, "He told me the story almost shot by shot with the flashbacks and it was beautiful. I said, this is something that I'd like to be a part of." The duo were eager to work with each other to such an extent Leone allowed De Niro to choose his own role between Noodles and Max, but with De Niro not fully committed, Leone almost pissed away his chance to work with the actor when the two met for a discussion at the Mayflower Hotel in New York City. Producer Arnold Milchan booked a suite for the meeting, and apparently De Niro was already put off by Leone's lack of professionalism, wearing only a bathrobe and underwear, but he was horrified, stupefied and utterly incensed to discover that in his bathroom, Leone had left something shocking behind. Levy describes the scene as follows. The producer found De Niro agitated. "I can't do the movie." "Why not?" De Niro led him into the ensuite bathroom of his bedroom and pointed to the commode. "Can't you see he's pissed all over my toilet seat?" There was in fact urine on the toilet seat. A flummoxed Milchan improvised an answer. "Come on, Robert. He didn't do that on purpose. He's fat. He didn't see." But De Niro insisted it was a power play, a marking of territory, a crude show of superiority, and he actually seemed ready to drop out of the film because of it. I mean, Leone has definitely pissed off actors in the past, and from what I've heard about him, he does come off as someone who was eccentric and a bit weird, but this story perfectly combines De Niro's anal retentiveness with Leone's wackiness, and comes off as pretty petty and funny when you consider Robert De Niro almost dropped out of one of the great gangster films because the director pissed all over his toilet in an alleged power move. Cooler heads prevailed, however, and De Niro eventually accepted the role in the film, and interestingly in the end, De Niro's star power wasn't all that relevant. As the actor said, "They were gonna do it, with or without me. He didn't raise the money on me. so there was no pressure that way. So there you have it. What do you make of this story? Was De Niro being petty and not accounting for Leone's girth? Or do you see the Italian cackling to himself in his hotel room with a glass of wine, imagining De Niro seething with rage? Could this perhaps be something Leone did on a regular basis, to assert dominance over his actors? Could he be a serial pisser? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Before we finish, I just want to thank my patrons, Andre Millington, Nicholas Curtis, and Dirk K, and also my channel members, the new On Goam 24, Rikers, and Michael Awatwi.